So in today's episode, I'm going to go and look over some of the spoiler and teaser art that they've been releasing for Chaos Legion. So during the weekly AMAs, Yabamat and Agrod have been pushing some of their beautiful art and the new cards for Chaos Legion. So they've been slowly giving us some sneak peeks and some teasers. So over the last 2 weeks, I've compiled them together, and in total we have 5 monsters for Death, 4 monsters for Earth, 4 monsters for Fire, and then 4 monsters for Water. I don't have any information about what the stats are apart from what you guys can see and what you guys can know. I'm also just going to give you guys my thoughts and opinions, and also I'm going to make some predictions because I've got a pretty cool theory about Earth. But just looking at this snake, I'm assuming it's going to be, I don't think it would be a tank, I think it would be more of a assassin. So my guess is this would be a stealth or a opportunity card. That said, it might have a new ability, so we'll see what happens. Moving on to this, I don't think this is a summoner. I think this is also just going to be a monster. Whether it's a tank, I'm not too sure. I would have guessed that this reminds me a lot of the Gorladon. So I would have guessed that this would be a position 2 melee monster, but they've already given us the position 2 melee monster, so I don't think it's going to be, I don't think it's a monster that's going to have reach as well. There's just something about these long arms that always make me associate that with reach. So I'm not too sure. We'll see what happens. You can see that in its hand, it's like eating flesh. So this might have the scavenger ability, but maybe I'm reading too much into the art. But I wouldn't be surprised if this has either lifesteal or scavenger due to the fact that it's consuming meat. Or maybe something along the lines of vampire. So this card is quite interesting because this card, I believe this could be the summoner. I think this could be the rare summoner of Death, and more importantly, if you can see the green energy that's around him, he's clearly a mage, got it a beautiful staff made out of a vulture's skull. And what you can see is with this green energy flowing around him, I wouldn't be surprised if the next Death Summoner had the ability to give all of the monsters life drain. So that's my prediction. I could be completely wrong, but this guy screams Summoner to me. And not only does he scream Summoner, due to all the green around him, unless it's just +1 magic or something boring like that, I wouldn't be surprised if this Death Summoner. So firstly, my first prediction is it's the Death Summoner. The second prediction is he is going to have life drain and give life drain to all of the minions on the map or something along those lines. Unless I'm completely wrong and there's just a ton of new abilities and shit like that that I haven't seen or could predict. For the legendaries, I'm not too sure how these will work. I don't think this is the summoner. It could be, but I'm expecting that the 6 winners of the most packs spent in pre-sale, they'll get to build their own legendary summoners. So I believe this could be the level 0 legendary. In which case, I have no idea what he does. It definitely looks like a magician, but it could be anything. But I wouldn't be surprised if it does magic damage. So very excited. And then just looking at this card and its stats, I think we're in for a wild time. I mean, obviously this is a level 10, but still a level 10 that does 3 damage and has 7 HP with 4 mana is quite ridiculous. In silver, you're looking at a level 5, so it would be 543, 5432, yep. So in silver, you're looking at a 2 damage, 6 HP position 4, which is going to be very good. Okay, moving on to Earth, we have, just to quickly go over them again, we have this epic, we have this epic, this legendary, and this epic. So what I believe this is probably going to be the summoner. I think this is the Earth summoner, the rare one at least, and the vibe I'm getting from her is just some high-end magician. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's +1 magic. I would be a little bit disappointed if it's +1 magic, but I would imagine it could also just be a completely new ability that that will buff magic abilities somehow. And the reason I say this is because even though this epic looks like a archer, or definitely is an archer, as well as the other epic being an archer, so Earth is still heavy in their archers, and I think they always will be. That said, if you look at her, she screams magician. And then also when you look at the legendary is a mushroom. And all of Earth's mushrooms, when you look at Mushroom Seer and Sporemancer or Sporemancer or something along those lines, all the mushroom cards in Earth so far are magic cards. So if the 2 previous mushroom cards are magic, this legendary I would expect to be magic. I wouldn't surprise me if the summoner is also going to be magic focused, and therefore shifting Earth away from archers and sustainability and moving more towards lots and lots of magic damage quickly. That said, I do believe that this guy is 100% an archer. He's got a crossbow, so I'm not too sure what his abilities will be, but if you look at this, we can definitely look into something like this, and we can see for the first time a new ability, and this ability is basically it attacks a random monster, which we did predict something like that. I think I called it Drunken, but I think this is just called Scattershot, where he'll randomly attack a random minion on the enemy's board, so this will either be really good or really shit. Just looking at it, you'd want a level 2 and a 2 mana, 2 damage, 4 HP archer card is going to be fantastic. I think he'll be super good once he gets cripple as well, and then if you can get him to level 6 and you play in Diamond League and above, having that acid shot also just helps. That said, I do think his name is pretty shit. I don't think you should call him Acid Shooter if you only give him acid once he's level 6. It should be I don't know, I would call him like Scatterbrain or something like that, because he's got Scattershot, and the Scattershot is from level 1 all the way to level 6. I wouldn't highlight his name just because he gets acid at the end, but that's just my opinion. This art looks really gross. Like, I don't like what's underneath her neck. I love the collar fungus type thing, but whatever's blooming out of her mouth and her neck freaks me out. I don't like it, but I can appreciate it. And yeah, I think this will be, I think, the level 0 epic card. And I think all this could be the legendary summoner, I'm not too sure. But basically, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a magic card that pairs really well with this as the summoner. Though this could also not be the summoner, but my guess is this is the summoner. Moving on from Earth, we're going to move on to Fire. So when we look at Fire, we have this epic, and then we'll have this rare Molten Giant, and then we got another Molten Giant, and then we got an epic. So first, I mean a legendary. So just looking at this, doesn't this remind you of Annie from like League of Legends? Just this little girl that like has fire abilities. Regardless, same thing. I believe that this is the summoner, or if this is not the summoner, it's just going to be a mage. It's going to be a rare mage card, but yeah, my gut's telling me that this is the summoner, and with fire in her hands, I'm looking at maybe +1 magic as well. I think this could also be a magic card, or it's going to be... I'd be very disappointed if this is Blast and they gave you Blast. Maybe there's a new ability called Burn, so it works the same as poison damage, but when you get infected by it, you take 1 burn damage at a turn. Something along those lines. Yeah, we'll look more into that. So this is the handsome brother of this. So this, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a big strong tank, or position 2 with reach, but I wouldn't, yeah, this to me just screams big strong tank, where this is also a lava elemental, but it's just a lot more elegant, and you can see there's some fire coming out of his hand, or it looks like there's energy in his hand due to the light strong colors from the lava. So I wouldn't be surprised if this card is a magician, so similar to like Pyromancer, but instead of it being archer damage, I expect it to be magic damage. And then this guy just screams big strong tank. I would be I'd be very surprised if this is like an archer or a magician. I expect him to be a frontline tank. But if this is a level 0, I'm not too sure what it's going to do. So we'll have to see. Yeah, I don't really have too much to talk about him. He just screams like it's basically like a living lava, except he's cooled down a bit more, so he's a little bit more dark and a little bit more hard. But I expect him to be a strong tank. Moving on to water, we have the the rare, and then we got the sea monster rare, and then we got the water elemental, and then finally it ends off with what looks like another copy of Valnamore. So just to start with, I think this is definitely the summoner, the rare summoner for water for Chaos Legion. And just looking at her, she's this badass rough warrior. And just, yeah, looking at her with her silver hair, she's clearly gone through some battles. The highlight is just these big metal gauntlets smacking into each other. So definitely not a magician or wizard. She's up close and personal, gonna smack you up. So I think they're gonna shift water to be similar to like Beta Fire, which is like +1 melee damage or just melee focused. So I think there's going to be a shift in water away from magic and more towards the melee cards. But that said, it all gets countered by this card, which is definitely going to be some sort of either a healer or a magician type card. So this, to me, I don't really have too much opinions on it. It literally just looks like a sea monster that's got a whole bunch of metal put on top of it. It's been redone. This just screams sea monster to me, so whenever I look at it, I just think, oh, it's going to be a frontline tank that has heal, but I don't think it. I hope they don't destroy the old sea monster by giving a new one. So yeah, fingers crossed that this is just going to be like Sandworm. So a big melee boy that's just going to attack from the back line is what I'm hoping. And then finally, same thing, this just screams water elemental to me, but I'm hoping that there's going to be new cards or some new, something different about it. So maybe a magic version of water elemental, or if this is a frontline tank, that would be cool as well. It's a lot more butch and thick compared to the previous water elemental. So fingers crossed. Here's some of my calls about the cards. Let me know in the comments. If you disagree, let me know in the comments. And yeah, I think just in general, let's all get excited for Chaos Legion. Cheers.
So please like and subscribe and let me know in the comments what you want me to do next. And if you're a new player, please use the promo code and I will happily send you the $0.5 back to you. It just lets me know that people are watching and using the promo, and I'm helping new players join the community. Also, if you find me on the Discord, just pop me a message. I'll happily delegate any of the new players some power